Yesterday, we talked about the most recent needless officer killing of a black man. This is Daunte Wright being killed in Brooklyn Center. We gave you some of the details as they were developing, but even as our show was going on, new details were coming out. And so we wanted to update you on a few of those, including that the officer who killed Daunte Wright has been identified. This is Officer Kim Potter, a 26-year veteran of the Brooklyn Center Police Department, identified as the person who fired a bullet in a 20-year-old Daunte Wright's chest. She's been placed on standard administrative leave. So they really gave it to her with the standard administrative leave after she killed him. So how did it happen? Well, they have an explanation or an excuse, depending on how you look at it. So let's go to some video of the Brooklyn Center Police Chief Tim Gannon trying to explain.
As you can hear, the officer, while struggling with Mr. Wright, shouts "taser, taser" several times. That is part of the officer's training prior to deploying a taser, which is a less lethal device. That is done to make her partners aware, as well as the subject, that a taser deployment will be imminent. During this encounter, however, the officer drew their handgun instead of their taser. For informational purposes, we train with our handguns on our dominant side and our taser on our weak side. So if you're right-handed, you carry your firearm on your right side and you carry your taser on the left. This is done purposefully and is trained. As I watch the video and listen to the officer's commands, it is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, but instead shot Mr. Wright with a single bullet. This appears to me, from what I viewed and the officer's reaction and distress immediately after, that this was an accidental discharge that resulted in the tragic death of Mr. Wright.
Okay, Dan. We were wondering what the explanation was going to be, what the excuse was, what the reason why we shouldn't have an issue with the needless murder. So what do you think about this? She only meant to tase him, but somehow shot him in the chest.
Pardon me, John, because I've dealt through some of these things so often from a news perspective, and also just like as a person of color, I have to take these things with an amount of like dark humor, because if I deal with these things every single week, it's gonna break me. But like, it just feels like they're pulling from some sort of game where you spin a wheel of excuses or some kind from things that cops do. I mean, like you have it in your notes here, so sorry to jump forward, but like in Oakland, California, in just in 2009, the Oscar Grant case, it was a huge thing for people who are local to the area. I have family up there, so I knew about it. And that was the same excuse that was used then, that he is meant to fire a taser, but instead used a gun. And so we've heard that excuse. We've heard he was resisting arrest, or we've heard all these other different instances, but the hierarchical like main issue over here is the dehumanization of black and brown bodies at the hands of police. The fact that we send people with guns into these cases like a routine traffic stop. Like one of the more heartbreaking aspects of it is like, I believe one of the reasons for the being pulled over was that he had something like hanging from his mirror or whatever. Like John, I don't know if you remember, but like when I first started working like in the remote studio at TYT before Damage Report, for the car park near the office, we got these little hang tags for the for our like parking garage. And I was driving back home with that one in the early days, and I went to visit my uncle, and my uncle was like, "You absolutely can't have that hang tag on your car because the police will pull you over." Like, not only is that like the kind of thinking that my uncle and like people who care about me as black people like have to have at all times, like vigilantly, but I have to actually take that seriously because of the number of times that being pulled over at the hands of the police is something that ends up being deadly. So it's just like another line of excuses here that gets away from the central issue that we don't need armed people to be handling these situations with unarmed people, especially when there's this dehumanization angle to it, because it so often ends poorly.
You're 100% right. Yeah, I honestly don't even understand the hanging thing. Why you're not allowed to have something hanging? Doesn't everybody have things hanging in their car?
I mean, like I asked this too because I was like, well, I've seen people have like different necklaces or things of spiritual significance, like dream catchers, or maybe even like a handicap or disabled placard for parking. So it's like, what is this issue? But like at a certain point, even I know to stop asking for the logic in these things, because like there is no logic to the unfortunately more than I can count on one hand times that like officers have pointed a gun at me for like a thing I didn't do. And I just have to like act calm and like regular in that kind of situation. And there is no logic to it. The only logic I've like found through my own experience through covering this in news so often is that there's a fundamental dehumanization that happens at like a mental level with these people that I just strongly don't believe that for a traffic stop, it wouldn't have escalated to the point where if this person were white, that you would have tried to handcuff them or like try to aim your gun at them, whether it's taser or handgun, you're caught up in the moment, I don't care. You're just not gonna treat people you have a human connection to in a certain way.
Yeah, why are you tasing him?
Yeah, for what? He's unarmed. This is another case, like unfortunately these things happen so often that this is another case where the girlfriend and like there was another like child like nearby in the car watching this whole thing. So like now we're like bringing a dangerous weapon into a situation now these other people involved. Again, I have a hard time believing that if this cop had happened to pull over their relative or something, that this thing would have happened in any kind of way. It's a 100%. Humanization aspect. Do you see these people as people like you that you could be friends with, or do you see these people as others? And again, the numbers and the bodies keep piling up, so I have my answer.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.